Working. You're deep in the salt mines of crafting your OBR. Right. So no camera. You'll see one of my earliest memes I created for the community, replacing where his camera would be. This is the absolutely. This was born from before even listening to before I even had RantCast or even thought that I would make something called RantCast. I listened to Cubic Shenanigans, and like I found like the way that Brendan delivers absolutely to be just absolutely charming. So I immediately made a meme that day and threw it up on the internet. Because I love, if you've watched RantCast for any degree of time, you know that I love memeing and joking and really taking the piss out of folk. You know what? I don't see any reason to really banter here. We'll jump right into it. Welcome to RantCast 30, everybody. Tonight we're going to be doing something a little special. We're going to be doing List Science Part 2. This is going to be, I don't call it interactive, but we're going to go through the process of like how Brendan and I respectively make lists. And I'm sure his style is a little bit different from mine. I think his involves darts, and mine involves like blacking out on a book, waking up the next morning, and like the answer in front with the answers in front of me. So
man, that's how I like got through college.
Yes. So RantCast 30 with me tonight. You may know him as the Lord of Death. You may know him as Hobby Bear. I know him affectionately as Brendan. So how you doing tonight, man? How are you doing?
Good. It was a long day. It's been a long week, and I'm just ready for Paka to be here because it means so many things like professionally for me are over, and I can just like reset and chill out.
Yeah. Like, so for those of you who may be listening, like internationally or outside the Midwest, we're going to Wapaka. That's spelt the Orcish way. It's in Wapaka, Wisconsin. This is the tournament, like in my like sort of like debut year. This is the tournament. This is the one that got away from me. This is the tournament that got away. So like I really wanted to make it here. This might be its last year, allegedly. I think it's its last year.
Yep.
And so like this is the one I got to make it to. I kind of think of a tournament like the tournament year as like a season. And I think it varies depending on where you live. But for me, Paka's like the all-star game. You know? The Super Bowl's probably actually like Holy Havoc. And then no, the Super Bowl is certainly Adepticon, right?
Yeah. I view Paka as the start though.
See, okay. So like it's the exhibition game?
Yeah, this is the big kickoff. This is the Hall of Fame game.
Okay. Yeah, like I arrange it kind of around where the GHB drops is how I arrange the tournament season.
That makes sense. Like I can respect and understand that.
So Midwest Meltdown is like the like inaugural like really now we grind and now we in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have kind of like an ebb. You know, maybe Paka and Holy Havoc is certainly the playoffs. That is where people come for blood. Or not Holy Havoc. Holy Wars. Sorry, Holy Wars. Which is funny because it's like this narrative event, but that I've been told that like people just bring the most busted shit to that tournament to get ready to grind for Adepticon. So that's got to be the playoffs. Which is why I've like in my mind I've had Paka as like the all-star event. But yeah, I mean it's all Hall of Famers, right? Like this is it, and that's my Midwest perspective. I mean it's gonna change where you live and stuff like that, but that's how I arrange it. How do you arrange it? I guess because I kind of cut you off a little bit there.
Yeah, so I guess for me like it's very traditionally calendar based.
Okay.
So you know, real novel concept here. So I just view but there's also it's because there's like this big gap between the fall and then the next tournament here in the Midwest. So the last event for a lot of people was Havoc or Renegade or Dragonfall, and there's nothing really late November. There's nothing in December, and then there's nothing in January until the very end. So so for me, it's like that was the off season. Everybody's kind of like retooled. Everybody's gotten has gotten their stuff back together, and now we go to war.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I like that, and it does like align, like you said, with the calendar itself. I mean, I really like you get a break between, like, because it does feel like it ends from like a Rife tournament season. Like I haven't played in a tournament since Holy Havoc back in November, right?
Right, me neither.
And I know there's some one-dayers around to like keep your reps in and keep polished, but then it's like holidays roll around. If you have if you like the holidays or you have a family, that you gotta stay committed to or something, like you gotta you gotta do all that stuff. And even I didn't like start modeling. Which is part of the reason you don't have your camera right now. I didn't start like grinding out modeling until the beginning of January, because I had to like deal with the holidays first and get ready for my seasonal layoff, which is the first week of January is like prepping for all that. So I got to get everyone sort of trained on my area, get all my tickets aligned, because I'm the only guy who does my job in a city of 55,000 people, and someone's got to cover that for a month now, and I got to get them ready, and I have like a week to do that. And so then like I think I didn't put like paint on a model until January 6th, 10 days ago.
Yeah, oh boy.
Yeah, oof, I know. Luckily, half my army's already done, but we've been grinding, and I'm not like super used to this, because like I was like the grind for trying to get my Legion of Nagash done was like it started before the Legion of Nagash book. I'm like, you know what? It would be cool to get to Adepticon this year, and I'm like. Legion of Nagash and Adepticon. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this would be pretty cool. So I'll try to get to like Adepticon with it. I missed Adepticon, so I'm like, I'll just go to the next tournament. Like I wasn't like a tournament player yet, I didn't have the bug. I was just like, it would be cool. It would be cool to go to a tournament. And then from there, I played a bunch of games, LON, yada yada. And then after like that first Dragonfall, actually after the GHB kind of nerfed my initial army. It was too slow getting my Beast of Chaos done, and I really leaned heavily on the Vault. We've mentioned the Vault before. It's a place of great mysticism. Do you want to spoil a little bit of the mystery for everybody with the Vault?
Well, I mean, people have seen the Vault, like partway the Vault in that Dragonfall episode. I mean, it was behind me. So, in Milwaukee, there's a lot of like solid players, and everybody's got, at least one army. A lot of people have two, but some of them have just like this big, huge collection of models. And I'm a bored single guy, so I have a lot of models. And obviously I can't play more than one army at a time at a tournament, despite my strongest desires to. I've been told there's some logistical issues to it. I don't believe them. But anything I'm not playing for my clubmates or good friends of mine, I open up my collection to them to try and so that they can run, whatever it is that they might want to run without necessarily purchasing the army.
Right. And oh, go ahead, finish.
Well, and that's kind of a standing offer within our group of guys that if there's stuff people have that they're not using, that it can be rolled out and fire rains down from the sky.
Right. Yeah, so I leaned heavily on the Vault there, and that sort of like second tour of tournaments, I guess, for me. Like it's not quite a full second year, because I started in between like the first season. Yeah, I don't know, it's weird. Time is bad for me. I don't know if you picked that up by me saying where I align the seasons, like not along the calendar, the obvious thing to do. I'm just like, I'm bad with time, man. No, so I leaned heavily on the Vault, and I didn't have to rush my first army, but now I'm in it. Like I am like in it, and like honestly, it's actually been really awesome. Apart from the fact that like I quit showering, shaving, and I haven't seen my family in 10 days.
I like the idea that like food's being slipped under the door for you.
It is. That's not even that wrong. like my lunch consists of I don't eat lunch. My breakfast is usually like coffee and like one fried egg, and then it's just like I am sustained all the way until dinner off like the flecks of paint I accidentally imbibe like licking my brush all the damn time. But like it hit me probably like 2 nights ago that like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take my time and hobby this army, yada yada. And I'm like, okay, I can't take my time and hobby this army. I gotta switch over to batch painting, which is just kind of how I do it anyway. And then like, boom, all 10 shields done, full to finished. They were previously primered, but all 10 shields done in like an hour. And I'm like, okay, I could probably pull this off if I just switch techniques. And so like I have my whole army's bases are actually done right now.
Woo!
I just did that today. They got to get like some paint here and there, but like honestly, like if I show up with them as is, like they're to a point where like you'll be like, okay, they have like multiple textures, and there's an attempt to make these look good, and then like so I can just glue my boys on, and then from there I'm down to 3 boxes to go. I'll feel really optimistic about this if I get through the weekend, because I've got some test games and stuff. If I get through the weekend and I only have like some more tech guard left, we're good. Like I'm in the clear. So how's your progress coming? I know the reason we've got a dank ass meme up instead of your camera is you're actually sitting in a corner, currently working on something.
Yeah. So all I've got left is the Catacross team. I've got Disapproving Samurai Man and Prophet or Paperwork Holder Man done. I've got Catacross himself to do. Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and Bannerman. That's what I've got left. And then the bases.
I saw your samurai dude. He was looking pretty cool. Like you did him justice. He had the red armor, which is like super classic, like red reed armor. So I'm really big fan of that. So kudos on that, man. It's looking good.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. It's that red armor is throughout the whole army. So I didn't love that on Catacross's base everybody was kind of different. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. They're all just kind of made uniformly to a standard. So, just why would he, Disapproving Samurai Man, be like different? Why would Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, be different? I just don't get it.
Oh man, I like that because like I think there's a little bit of that whole they have like their personalities or something going on. Like they've got a little bit of that, like a nod to that a little bit. So I'm for it. I like the points of visual interest. I like that it's a diorama. And I was talking a little bit ago that if I ever truly like grind out the hobby and in like 5 years, I will do a diorama because I have some ideas for Catacross based on actually something you brought up in one of the I think the first RantCast you might have been on about like
walking Catacross.
Yes, yeah. It's actually going to be like a whole battle scene on there, and like DSM is going to have his like arm chopped off, and he's like going to be like holding his like arm and like looking up to Catacross as Catacross finally is like, "Don't worry, son, I'll handle him," and like coming down and like they're all the other like characters are going to be murdered across the diorama, because like okay cool you magnetized them and you pulled them off when they died, but if you didn't buy a second Catacross and magnetize the murdered versions and put them back on the base, you're not yeah. Gangsta.
Do you even hobby, bro?
Yeah, do you even hobby, bro? Like, get on my level. No. So but that's like long term goals. My the sort of Super Bowl of my hobby goals this whole year, I'm building towards, finishing OBR. I've got a couple builds of OBR I want to do. The reason I'm running Petrogash at Paka is because unlike you, who just you've got your techniques down, you even know like your color palette's kind of going into an army and stuff. You don't have that experimentation phase as like
everything is red and copper. Like it's just the easiest thing in the world. All of my armies are painted exactly the same.
Well, it's actually cool because like your death armies, if you look at them, you go, "Yep, these are like this is the same Grand Alliance played by the same guy." I actually like that personally. Like some people might not, but I think that's cool. I think it's cool that like if you spread out like 10k points worth of death, you're like, this is the same army. And I think that's really cool, especially in Death specifically, because Nagash is so overridingly the man, right?
Right.
But
it also helps that my Stormcast are the same color, and my Flesh Eater Courts are the same color, and my Dark Elba are the same color. You know, like, those are all just helpful add-ons.
90 individuals who accidentally chose the same outfit individually is fine in Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Like, Brendan has a problem with them being different on the base, and I get that. On Catacross's base specifically, but the Bone Reapers themselves all looking the same makes 100% sense. They're manufactured.
From the narrative. I am a narrative gamer, and don't anybody forget it.
But, like, I knew I couldn't get Catacross done. I could spend a whole month on Catacross and not be done with him. So I'm like, I gotta do Petrogash. I gotta go, because then I'll have my 60 Bone Reapers done, or my 60 Mortek Guard, and, like, the backbone of my Catacross list for what I intend to bring to Adepticon. And if I don't get it done for Adepticon, hell, like, fine. I get to spend more time with Catacross. Like, he's an awesome model. He deserves it. I run Petrogash again. No harm, no foul. But the goal is to get Catacross on the table. That model is sick as hell, and it's probably the way to run OBR. I know it's a big spoiler. That its 500 point awesome general man is its best leader. So
yeah, and the best part is that, like, he's best used not fighting. Like, what a mind blowing situation.
He's not like this is Gotrek. He is not, you know, like he is not this 500 point blender man whose job is to just be the Terminator and, like, pimp walk slowly across the table and just murder everything that steps in front of him the way Gotrek does. He doesn't really do that. He fights just enough to force you to have to commit something serious to him and then feel bad if you did, because he can take the hit. He's like, the design of Catacross, this is not what we intended to talk about tonight, but it can tie into, like, understanding the roles of units. Like, once you realize the role of Catacross isn't to be a Vlasda, isn't to be Gotrek, isn't to be like Two Keeper of Secrets, right? Like, that's not his role. He is the quintessential, like, utility force multiplier piece that behooves you to either sink resources into dealing with him or ignore him entirely. And either way, I kind of get what I want when I'm playing him. Like, I'm like, either way, fine, you know? And that's really, it's a really useful piece. And in an army of everything costing 200, give or take, like, everything costs 200 in that army, basically. You're just moving around little 200 point pieces. Up and, 200 points this way, 200 points down. He should probably cost 2.5 selections. Like, like, people talk about the internal balance because they really want to beat that dead horse of Petrifex Elite. But when you stop going to the easy take and the obvious thing to complain about, you can see a really good sort of, like, give take to the whole, like, list building. If you want to run Archon, that list looks a lot different from if you want to run. Well, it doesn't look drastically different, but it looks different enough to where, like, someone who's building the army can go, like, okay, I'm going to build my backbone, but now I have to, like, move these chess pieces around to, like, really hammer out an Archon list. I have to move these chess pieces around if I really want to hammer out a Petrogash list. And Catacross and catapults and harvesters and so on and so forth.
Man, I just wish the catapults would roll well for me. That's clearly the way to do it, but I have yet to have the catapults, like, actually do something, despite being, like, 2 up, 3 up, and re-rolling everything.
Right. Yeah,
and it's just because, like, they just miss. I rolled just, like, 1,000,000 2s on the wound roll, and I go, what are you gonna do?
That often happens to me. I'll roll, like, hot, even above average on my like, hit rolls. You know, I'll, like, need 5s to hit. I'll like, nail them, and then I only need, like, 2s to wound. That's when I'll see all the 1s. You know, like, it just, that's just, like, I find that the law of average, for me, at the table tends to just be immediate and unapologetic. Whereas, like, I don't know, like, I'm looking at a lot of the lists coming through, and we are going to talk lists. List is our anchor. We're always going to come back to lists, Zerg. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for some patience and enjoying some rabbit holes. They're fun. Embrace them. like a lot of the lists I've seen for a lot of these early tournaments, and there was a little bit of a void, not just here in the Midwest. I think worldwide we only had like a handful of like massive tournaments, and we only had a handful of tournaments, and no like true massive like tent pole like event that everyone tries to get to, right? Usually regional stuff, a lot of regional stuff, and then we had like Aussie Masters. Was probably the biggest one to note. So like, but a lot of the lists now are starting to like finally come through. As I guess we're kicking. Like I guess I could concede to you, man. This is the beginning of the tournament season. I'm going to concede. I will forever change my opinion on this one. There's my personal tournament season, but this is the tournament season. It's now kicking off. I'm seeing some of the early lists come in, and I see a lot of catapult lists. I thought people would gravitate to catapults early, but I thought the novelty would wear off. And I'm like, no. People are committed to catapults right now. And that's probably for the best with Tzeentch showing up the way the particular way it did. You're not going to really benefit from the bravery shot on that thing, but I mean, 5 up idiots hate those catapults.
Man, they sure do.
So, like, 5 up save idiots really hate those catapults. So, like, if Tzeentch didn't show up exactly as it did, which is, how it was 2 years ago, minus Skyfires plus Flamers, if it didn't show up exactly the way it did, I think catapults would have cooled. But now I suspect they're here to stay. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. And I suppose I'll be proven wrong or right in a couple of days, really.
It's very early, so like you can caveat it heavily. Right? Like, it's very early, so you get to add all the caveats you want so that you can be technically correct in the end. Just leave enough wiggle room for the goalposts to shift, which is what I do and sound intelligent.
Yeah. Well, and also in my professional life, I write just massive loopholes to drive trucks through in our system so that we technically comply to standards and everything is good enough. You just run into something that has an okay save, and then the catapults become entirely useless.
And that's what we're seeing, right? Like this rock paper scissors. If last year was the era of the genesis of the fat middle, I think we're about to see the quote unquote true living meta, where like you go to one tournament with one list predicting one meta, and if you're wrong, you can get really punished. And that's always been there. It's always been there. But the whole, I feel to a certain extent the take-all-comers list build that we just saw for so long, it was just like 2 decades of people telling you to build your list to take all-comers at tournaments, right? And I'm like, they've been lying to you this whole time, but I think people have finally figured out the lie. Because it's really important that you just have your strategy, and then you do it. Right? That's way more beneficial. I mean, if you disagree, please disagree. But I have found that you have your strategy and you do it. And
you gotta live in the space of what your anticipated plan is, and that begins when you're writing your list. You have to be able to, and this is something I talk about on Cubic Shenanigans a lot, is the idea of answering the question. What questions are you planning to answer with this army? What questions do you expect to not be able to handle very well? And from like an academic perspective, everybody had that one, that one subject matter that they just weren't super great with. So you went into the test knowing it's like, okay, so the finals specifically usually is, I feel good about chapters 1 through 6, feel awful about 7, 8, 9, and 10 I'm okay on, and 11 and 12 fantastic. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just had the professor that wrote all the questions on the one chapter that you just couldn't handle.
Right. And to kind of piggyback off of that pretty great metaphor, if it comes time you get to the end of the test and there's an essay question, you're going to write the essay on the ones you're good at, right? You're not going to suddenly write them. And this concept of this living meta that I think we're entering, where we're going to see more of a rock, paper, scissors, because we just have more armies now with diverser builds than we've ever had. I love this shit, by the way. Like, I relish this kind of thing. Going, okay, I think catapults are going to be good if I'm on top tables and I have to deal with a bunch of 5-up save idiots. Like, I'll crush them. From range, yada, yada, yada. Now,
yeah, you're playing like a million Gloomspike Gits or something like that. Gloomspike Gits takes over the local meta, and you go, cool, I'm going 4 catapults wide. Check this out.
Yeah, like hold my beer, right? Like,
Yeah.
But now you need to have a realistic gauge of things. You know, we can, all data that we kind of collect on Age of Sigmar is like reactive data. For the most part, it's, you know, self-reported, here's the analytics, yada, yada, yada. If everyone just suddenly starts running, I don't know, 3-up armor save guys, 3-up rerolling armor save guys, everyone just starts doing it, that's going to, like, drastically shift the way the meta shapes out, you know? And if your list just did not prepare for that, or you just happen to be at that first tournament where everyone finished their Petrifex Elite, you're going to have a bad time, you know? Like, if you're... you're going to have a bad time. So, like, there's some stuff there. And this is where, like, when I talk about, like, list building, list science, find your strategy and, like, kind of stick to that. As you go forward, as you experiment, another part of, like, science is testing and observation, right? You're going to play the list.
Yeah.
You're going to go, it worked. It didn't work. Leave yourself some room to, like, to move some stuff around, you know? I know we hobby and it takes us a long time to, like, kind of turn our lists over, and that's not a bad thing. Maybe by the time you decided to make an adjustment, the meta shifts back again, you're like, you know what? I won't make that order. Like, I'm not going to order I'm not going to order 2 more catapults. Turns out that the 5 Gloomspike Gits tournament I went to was just the one time.
Yeah. And FAQ came out and everyone was like, oh, well, can't do this anymore.
Can't do this anymore. And that is a small problem with our game. People who can devote a lot of time to the hobby, or choose to devote a lot of time to the hobby because it's like their primary just drive, right? They can turn over their lists a little bit quicker than the rest of us. And some of us who have like a stacked ass vault or a friend with a vault, like, get to roll with the punches a little bit better. But if you're a person who's about to build a list, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to play like one army for about 6 months or a year. Because I think, as much as I love list science and theory crafting and taking new lists out into the world, I have an ambitious build schedule this year. And this is twofold. It's a hobby schedule. I have committed myself to being a better hobbyist and really focusing on that sphere of Age of Sigmar. It's my weakest sphere. I'm a pretty good player. You know, I'm statistically in the top half, but like stats, what is it? There's 3 types of lies: damn lies, and statistics. So like,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm a competent player. I'm a really good, like, I've got a really good, like, cerebral aspect of knowledge of the game. I got to work on my mental game. That's why I do a lot of coverage and talking about the mental game, because I know how much it affects me personally in Age of Sigmar and how much I had to conquer it in other games I became really good at. You know, like, that's why I talk about it. I talk about it from a place of having done that. Pardon me. But like, so like, I know I'm good there. Narrative, like, I'm just like, is kind of a freebie because my brain is just wired for like narrative and stories and writing and so on and so forth. So like, the one I really need to work on is hobby, and that's, so I've committed myself to hobby. But this is twofold because it also benefits me as a list builder. I really think Staliarch Lords has a awesome build in it, and I'm gonna test it in the wild. It's gonna be my last list because I think it's the one that's most reliant on changes to the meta, and that's me looking at the meta going, okay, we're a little in. For the next 3 tournaments, I think you can be confident. If you write a list right now, I think you know what you're going to get. Next 3 months, all the way up to the GHB, I think we know what we're going to get, for the most part.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's going to drive that is what KO and Zinch end up actually looking like, and then obviously everything new between here and there. Especially because the KO books and the Zinch books are the armies that people have already sitting on their shelf that they already have in their vault. The reaction is going to be very quick. Ostiarch Bone Reapers likely, never got that place as the big horrible, boogeyman that everybody thought they were, because the the painting delay is real. I've been working on this army for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
And like my time in the sun is already gone apparently. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, imagine being someone who takes like 6 months to make an army, and then like by the time you start, you got excited about Petrifex Elite when you were told that Immolation was going to be the best ability, right? You're like, oh man, everyone's going to be mad at Immolation, so I'm going to build Petrifex Elite. And it takes you 6 full months to build that army. Everyone's just getting angrier and angrier on the internet, and you're just like, man, I thought they were going to be mad at Immolation, and then like, and then the GHB comes out, you're over nerfed, and you're just like, god damn it, like.
Well, I mean, people just went through that with Slaanesh, right? Yeah. The book came out. There were some people that were just like, "Oh, this is the best. I'm super jazzed," and then like to the horror of people who just like really enjoy the army and the lore, or even the models, and they're sitting there and they're like, "My God, I've accidentally armed myself with a nuclear weapon."
Right, and I mean that doesn't feel good either. If you're like the passionate player who just wants to like, you know, high five and drink beer and have a great time, right? You show up to the tournament with a list you love, but has kind of become the business, right? And just incidentally, you were already committed to this army. You're going to play it no matter what. You're like, I was already playing Slaanesh. I mean, you're Vince Venturella. You're Slaniche from Twitter, and he's been on Rage of Sigmar a couple times. You're the passionate Slaanesh player. And then like you've got like, and then you're just like catching the heat that just like is just wafting around all of the like other Slaanesh players who are like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that conundrum personally.
Yeah, like it's not that person's fault that like that I'm a dick.
that you took Slaanesh specifically to win a second dragon trophy. You knew you were going to Dragonfall to like break ankles and snatch souls.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The whole goal.
Yeah, I mean, and that comes into like managing your goals and expectations, right? Like when you go into this is in list science too. When you go into building a list, the first thing I consider myself is what do I want to do, right? Where do you start when you build a list?
Usually, well, because I take it from the tilt of more what's going to give me the biggest opportunity to win as many games as possible in as many situations as possible, right? You know, like what's the ceiling? Mm-hmm. And you know, that's one of the things that took me so long with Bone Reapers is there were so many choices, and it was so clear that this wasn't like something I was used to playing. There was no precedent for it that existed in the game. So it took me a lot longer than normal to write the list, feel good about the list, play the game, see the results, and then make the changes, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's books that just come out where I go, okay, this is probably the list XYZ, whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, proxy it out, play it out, and then boom. You know, I'm like, okay, that was pretty close, or whoa, I was really far off, but I see how this army works now. I got to do this, that, the other. Mm-hmm. So for me, it just kind of starts with, you know, it's an advanced position, and I get to enjoy the luxury of it, but it's because I've played a lot of games, right? I can just look at a book, and I kind of get an idea of what's going to be good. And I've got all the other books, and I've read all the other books, and I've written some lists with all the other books, and I see all these lists, so I kind of know what's going to be living out there in the wild. Right. So I go, okay, what the 5 lists at the top? Skaven, Slaanesh, Flesh Eater Courts, you know, it's going to be Tzeentch now, and then something else. I'm like, okay, well, how does this list deal with all of those, right? How does it deal with all of those? And then you work off of that.
Right.
And it's okay if you're like, oh, I can't handle that one army. You're like, well, that's fine. Going 5-0 requires typically just not getting that army.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean Nuke Doctor, one of the Detroit Warhammer club. I think he's actually their president now. He's El Presidente.
No. That's Jake.
Oh, is it Jake? Jake, really?
Yeah. He well, there was a big Twitter announcement. There's much ado about it. Jake is taking over for this new season following his very successful 2019 campaign, where he was the probably arguably the most successful American player.
He hit a spectrum though. Like he won hobby awards. He's like the triple threat. He Trunzo, whom I like absolutely adore within like more of our like local direct, Wisconsin scene.
Mm-hmm.
That dude is like also the triple threat. Like he'll beat you on sports, paint, and on the table. Like he's just, whereas like I'm not afraid of like losing to tiebreakers to Brendan Melnick in sports score. I love you.
How
man, but,
dare you? I have a sportsmanship award.
I know, and I know. No, I love you, man. But like, I'm just but that's the thing is like you go up against these players and you're just like, this is the total package. This is no, it's like Trunzo and Jake. I think both like personify that.
The craziest part to me about Trunzo is that he plays like no games constantly.
He's I don't know, man. He's a phenom. Like he just like some people are just savants, man. Like some people are just savants. They exist. I've given Brendan like 7 sports votes. Well, I mean, I'd give Brendan my sports
votes. Thank you, Andrew.
And not because I know him, because like I know where he's coming from when he plays the game, and like I know, like I can modulate my expectations for a game. That other people just like want the guy who screams "wah" in their face when they roll "wah," and I'm like, I don't want that guy. I mean, if you are that guy and you're cool on top of that, like I'll forgive you that you shouted "wah" in my fucking face, but like, come on, man, bring it down like just a touch.
Yeah, we are Warhammer businessmen here. Let's handle this like adults.
Yeah, this is business. No, and straighten your tie. No, like I said, I could party with the guy who shouts "wah," too, but like I said, there's like there are different types of games, and I can appreciate that spectrum. And I think some people go in with like the one type of game they want, and that's probably most people. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like if you're shout "wah" in people's face, like sportsman, and you end up playing This Is Chess, man, like you're not gonna have like, you can have a great game still, but you're not gonna like necessarily be like, this is the sports vote game, unless some crazy shit happens. But if you like play against like This Is Chess the game, This Is Business the game, and This Is Business the game, you're gonna have a great game. And 2 people shouting "wah" at each other, like it's gonna create a black hole of sports votes that just like siphon into it, and then like the whole room is just like sweatier and hotter, and the event horizon happens. That was a rough one.
That's a weird analogy.
Sorry. No, I mean, like, yeah. So there's just like people enjoy the game different ways, and I think with your list, like it's something to be mindful of. Do you want to win? Right? If you want to win, your list is going to look a lot different than do you want to really make this unit work?
Right.
I love Kavalos Death Riders, and I think there's a build with Stalkers that works. So the list I built.
Yeah, I wrote it.
Yeah. Up on Doom and Darkness's show, actually, right?
Do my Tom Lyons moment. Yeah, I wrote that list.
Yeah. So when you've heard it here first, second, like preliminarily teased, but then first on Doom and Darkness, but you heard it here second. Stalkers can be a real list in the future, but yeah, like if you're like, I want to make this work. I was talking to one of the Australian players, Joel, actually in one of my hobby streams, because I've just been like hobby grinding the last like 10 days, like I said, about how like I think of it not as tiers but gears. Okay, like so.
Okay.
So like you got a 6-speed. We could do a 5-speed too if it makes it easier, but let's go with the 6-speed because 4th and 5th gear are gonna have a subtle nuance and change. All right, so 6th gear is you get up to 6th gear. This is your redlining. You are going as hard as possible to win games. That's 6th gear. Okay. If you downshift slightly, you're in 5th gear. 5th gear is usually 5th and 4th gear are in the same category. I'm going to try as hard as possible to win games with X. Now, X could be, in my case, Nagash, right? Now, whether it falls...
Well, I mean, he used to be top gear, but yeah.
He used to be 6th. I don't think he's the best way to run OBR, and I might downplay how much I think he's secretly really great. But like,
he's fine.
Just
like,
to keep
I'm not gonna.
No.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's garbage. Like, there are some definite, real, inherent disadvantages in it, but yeah, it's fine.
There's some disadvantages of an 800-point model. Archeon lists have the same problem.
880 or whatever he is right now.
He's basically 1,000. Like, you gotta, like, you probably invest. I mean, you have some, like, dead space in the OBR list. It's just hard to fill out that last 100 points. It's a real chore. So it's like he's 1,000 points, is what it feels like at 880, because it's such a weird number. Shit costs 130 and 210 in the book. It's pandemonium. 880 is such
Pandelirium.
I think he's overcosted at 880. There's a fucking hot take for you.
Woo!
I'll accept him at 880, but like I think he's overcosted, especially in today's game with fucking 8 objective battle plans and shit. And he doesn't like auto win a Place of Arcane Power in OBR because he doesn't have pinions.
True. But you've got Sweet Nagash teleport. You
do have Sweet Nagash teleport. But like, okay, so like six gear is you're building a list hard as possible to win. This is I'm gonna take Slaanesh, I'm gonna go God Seekers, I'm gonna go Pretenders, and I'm gonna do the math. I'm gonna do the other half of Good List Science, which is you gotta test it. You gotta observe and report. Right? Observe, report your findings. Like,
yeah.
So you're gonna come down on that and you're gonna be like, I think this is best. And a little bit, since we are in the living meta, is being aware of your matchups. We'll get a little bit more into that later. So 6 gear, boom, going hard as possible. I'm trying to win. Now, 6 gear, you almost don't care what car you're driving. If you're a person who wants to go fast and you see a car and it's only got 5 gears, you're not going to get in that car. Like, yeah, 6 gear would be a spike. 6 gear would totally be a spike type if you're aware of the psychographic profiles for Magic the Gathering. So then 5th and 4th gear both want to win, but they usually like these are the self-compers or the like innovators. Whether they're in 4th gear or 5th gear is based on if the combo they're really trying to exploit or the thing they're trying to do to win with is good or not. And if it's not a certain level of not good, they won't play it. They'll go on to something else. So this is the 4th and 5th gear. Now the 5th and 4th gear players can tolerate 4th gear because they're like, okay, if I get lucky in my matchups, if I play just better than my opponent, I can beat a 5th gear opponent. And I hope to dodge the 6th gear opponent, or that I am like a silver bullet to the 6th gear. Because you might just silver bullet them. Like, you've built your list, you're like, I know that this list beats Slaanesh. You're like, ha ha ha. It's not as oppressive as Slaanesh, but you're just like, you're laughing to yourself all day long. I could beat Slaanesh with this list. And you're just like, you can't wait to go to a tournament and they just push their shit in, right? And then you've got a great army against the rest of the field, too. You're not as oppressive, yada yada, right? So those are 4th and 5th gear. 3rd gear is probably, you're approaching people who are aware of list building. They have like 1 or 2 combos that they've really like started to figure out. They can look at a war scroll and go, this is a good war scroll, this is a bad war scroll. But they usually don't see that like 2nd tier of combo. They know like they know like a lot of the common force multipliers. They don't necessarily find the 2nd or 3rd tier force multipliers. They don't go across other people's books to find force multipliers for their books, So that's about 3rd gear. And then 1st and 2nd gear is going to be varying degrees of like casuals and like your beer and pretzels. Now beer and pretzels often go into 3rd and 4th gear as well, but like, yeah, 1st and 2nd gear. 1st gear you just play what you got. You just bring what you got to the tournament, and then 2nd gear, you're bringing what you got with like a nod towards like some synergy and building a better list. So this is how I think of it. I don't know where this metaphor came from. It just like it sprang to me, and like I liked it enough to where I'm going to keep talking about it because I think it's a little bit better than tier systems. Because tier systems aren't I don't think they're too linear. I know that we're counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's more about the ideology when we talk about the gears than it is about the like results. Because tiers require results.
But all of this requires results.
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean all of it. Requires a fourth and a fifth.
But,
continue. Yeah, continue.
Like, I can tell you how to build a list, but if you build garbage, then, whatever.
Right. But I mean, when you get into that car, you have to know how fast do you want to go, right? And some lists, some armies, they don't have a sixth gear. I don't know that there's one that doesn't have a fifth gear right now. Maybe Khorne. But like, you're not surprised to see Khorne win. Like, you're not surprised to see that.
Council of Blood, Gore Pilgrims or whatever that one is. Like, that's real solid.
Yeah, and I think Brass Despoilers, if you pull Brass Despoilers out of Beast of Chaos and then go Khorne with the Gore Pilgrims, I think
obviously the Stampede. Stampede's pretty good.
Stampede's pretty good.
Especially now with the advent of the Khorne Demon Prince.
Right, and now I want to caveat this whole thing real quickly before we move on, which is, we're obsessed with the list, capital T, capital L, just in Age of Sigmar, we're obsessed with the list. Like, this is the list. This is the best list. And we overlook sometimes that, like, one, there could be multiple the best lists, actually, and player skill is very important to the list. Player confidence is important to the list. If you hate a list, even if it's great, I bet you'll find yourself losing just a touch more in games that you shouldn't lose. Whether it's a mirror match against someone who's as good as you, or like someone bringing a counter that you could play your way out of, but you're like, you fucking hate the list and you already check out. Like, it's very important that, like, this is where we would talk about the Galapagos meta a little bit, which is a term you coined, and I fucking love it, to describe Australia. So, like, Australian lists, I look at, like, some Australian lists, and I go, I don't get why they're... I remember, like, seeing, like, 6 Bulgors in a Desolating Beast Herd list, like, a year ago or 2 years ago. I'm like, why the hell is this there? Just run, like, the better thing, right? The objectively better thing, because I look at points costs and, like, damage totals and shit. And then, like, that list wins. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And part of it is, like, they're innovating in different ways, and certain players play certain models a certain way. These are my Black Knights. You look at my Black Knights in a list, and, like, the number of times for one entire calendar year, I watched people go, these are Black Knights. I go, these are Black Knights. They go, oh, I know what they do. And, like, they just, like, didn't even want me to tell them that they're good on the charge. They're like, yeah, I know what they do. Like, they don't even think they're good. And then, like, to watch their faces change from these things weren't a problem because they're not evocators or, like, other flashier stuff, to suddenly this is a problem, to watch that change. That happened every game, every time, for an entire calendar year, until my army's points changed. Like, turns out Black Knights with Van Hells on the charge
are really good.
With 18 inches of movement and 20 wounds are pretty great. Like, often a 4-up save, usually a 5, because if you have Ren 1, they go up to, they go down and they go back up. Nah, I don't remember the math. Math is
whatever.
Whatever. Who cares about math when you're talking list science?
It's all about gut feel.
Yeah, but and that's the thing is, like, certain people play certain stuff a certain way. Having confidence in your list is very important.
Fact.
Like, having confidence in yourself, important. Having confidence in your list, important. This is why I don't mind pet picks. This will get us onto the subject of pet picks or pet unit. If you have a role for the pet unit, you can take it if you know what its role is, and you know how to play it. Try to limit yourself on pet units, and that's going to be one of my first, like, tenets of, like, list science if you're trying to, like, get into, like, 4th, 5th, and 6th gear. It's okay to take pet units. The mask probably could have been argued to be a pet unit in some of my early, like, Theorycraft lists, but then it actually turned out to be good. So, checkmate, atheists.
Yeah, mask is good. Get wrecked.
Yeah, get wrecked.
We'll fight all of you.
Pet units can be good units, but I think by definition, pet unit means, like, not the best in slot. Pet unit tends to be you like it because you like it, not because it's good. It can be good, but it's often not. It's usually shouldn't say it's often not. It's often not the thing that is taken in, like, the cookie cutter list, or if you're just, like, building a list like you're a robot. Do you have anything
Correct.
to add to our little caveats here of building proper list science? You're going to come in it obviously from a competitive trying to win stance. You're going for the 6-gear list, yeah?
Right. I mean, gone are my days of being able to run pet lists and taking out best in faction because no one else is playing in the faction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times. Good times.
Well, I mean, the game is just bigger now. The game's bigger now, but there's something to be said for mastery of your list, even if it isn't that one of those like 6-gear lists or 5th-gear lists. Like, 3rd and 4th can win a tournament if they know their list really, really well. If they catch a lucky break in the matchups and the dice are on their side, like you like being good at the game of Age of Sigmar is like a prerequisite, I think, for quote unquote winning it all.
Right. So let's start with that concept, right? Is being good at the game of Warhammer.
Yeah.
And this is something that I preach to people whenever they're like, "Hey, Brendan, you're good at Warhammer," and I'm like, I mean, that's kind of a subjective thing, but my trophy case says yeah. And they're like, "How do I get good like you?" And I'm like, "Well, first off, you needed to start roughly 16 years ago." And they go, "Well, that's not possible." I go, "Well, that's a problem." So the next place to start is to pick one army, one book, just one book. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what book it is. You pick one book. And you can change your list within that book, but I'd put it at a year, something close to probably 50 to 100 games. All you play is that book. No other books. You can ally stuff in, right? But all you play is that book. You will learn fundamentals of this game that you didn't think existed by just playing the same list. I think there's value in finding a friend, both of you play the same army, but you play all 24 missions. Mm-hmm. Just, over the course of a couple months, you're like, "Hey, you and me, you're on OCR Bone Reapers, I'm playing Tzeentch. We can change our lists and stuff over that period of time. But the two of us, with the same armies, play all the missions that are in the book."
I love that.
You're going to see this game in an entirely different fashion.
I love
once you grasp the fundamentals of how the game is played at the most basic level, now you can start looking at some of the things the way I start to look at it, where you just kind of pick up a book and you kind of see the interactions in your head. You see the way it works out on the table. You can picture the matchups, because in those 50 games, chances are you've seen everything.
Yeah. There's there's like I'm not saying that there is a target number of games where you'll go from like I suck at the game, I'm good, but giving yourself a target number of games to play is going to help you practice with purpose. Vince talks about it in hobby all the time, and I agree with it. I'm on my practicing with a purpose hobby journey right now. I want to be the total Warhammer player. I love representing the totality of Warhammer with RantCast. I need to get better at hobby, especially if I want to win a best overall. I'm just not to par. I need to get better, and I want to get better, and I love models. I obviously love models because I play this game. But man, I need to get better. But that goes into giving yourself a target number of games. I want to play every mission. Now you go from just playing Warhammer to practicing with a purpose. And furthermore, incorporating the kind of sticking to an army. Part of getting to your list that you want to be on in science, in list science, is knowing I played with Morghast for a few games. Clowncar was still around, when I started playing. And
I remember
this fear, and I'm like, I'm gonna bring some Morghast, because if Clowncar shows up, I want a missile I can shoot at some Arknaut company. I'm gonna hide them in deployment, shoot it with 3d6 charge, and blow up a bunch of fucking Arknaut company. And I played a few games. I'm like, doesn't work that way. It just, there's that next tier of knowledge that you get from playing your army. And then I landed on Black Knights. Well, technically I already wanted the Black Knights. I just, they weren't finished yet. When I went to that tournament, you saw photos of my moment of shame. The Black Knights weren't finished for the tournament, but I'd already been onto the Black Knight tech for a while. Because like they're 20 wounds now, and they do what the Morghast were designed to do. And by the time Second Ed rolls around, they did it even better, and fucking everything's, you can't shoot out of the unit that's attacking you now. And I'm just like, wait, so I just like take my Black Knights, Tokyo drift them sideways, and pin everything that's a problem? Let's go, cool. Yeah, but I wanted to circle back to something that was said in chat here a little bit earlier by
also write shit down. Write shit down.
Write shit down.
Yeah.
This comes to practicing with a purpose too. You can practice with a purpose like getting good, #getting good at Age of Sigmar. And again, giving yourself target numbers, going, I want to play these missions. I want to play all of the missions. Getting that second tier knowledge of your army, or what I've called sometimes coming at your army sideways, that's also called playing to your outs. If you don't have enough understanding of your army's weaknesses, because you're always like, oh man, this army loses to that army. Like, the army I made loses to that army. I just punt that matchup. You probably haven't figured out your outs yet. Like, you probably, if you migrate off of that army and then onto a different army that beats the army you're struggling with at your LGS, or when you get to tournaments and you're at that, like, 3-2, 4-1 barrier, or the 4-1, 5-0 barrier, those players probably don't need my advice, but like, I can help you if you're 3-2 and trying to go 4-1. And you can help them if they're trying to go 5-0. So together, we're Captain Planet. Let's go. You won't learn your outs yet, and knowing your outs and learning to play to your outs is a huge tactic. That's the magic lingo. Do you have a better terminology for it in Age of Sigmar?
Never give up. I don't know. So like maybe the thing that I'll put it to is in the first round of the American Team Championships of 2019, I got paired up with the one list that me, my team, everybody agreed, the one list at the event that I could not play. It was the one list that was gonna beat me. And I was on, OG nonsense, Gristle Gore, Feck, hide your kids, hide your wife. Everything dies in the wake of Murder Bat.
You were slightly. I mean, they had changed the GHB though.
Well, no, this was.
Oh,
this was before
pre-command
point
change. Pre-command point change. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had all the command points. I had all the fighting first. I had it all. I was king of the mountain. And we got the one list that I could not see. And just looked at it and you go, I have no alternatives here. I must win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can't give up. You got to look at that table. You can't give up.
Well, and this is part of what bothers me right now about Petrifex is busted. It's shifting towards Zinch is going to be so busted we can't even deal with it. There's one build in KO that's just Clown Car all over again. They're going to put a spell Vortex in your deployment zone out of the spell Poke Bottle. They're just going to throw it out there. Rat Trap, I choose you, and like you're going to be pinned in your deployment. They're going to one drop shoot the crap out of you. I feel like people give up on the internet before they've even played. And I've split now in in Broken Slanesh era. I've split against Slanesh on bad armies. On bad armies. And I am counting doubles to make the statistics work and make me feel a little bit better. But
yeah, you've got a real biased reporting system. Let's not pretend.
Oh, come on, it's part of the fun of the show. I know what this is, but no, because I played the games. I played the games without fear. I play the games. I tell everybody when I go into a game, my first opponent with myself. Now I haven't got that next tier cutthroat power yet that you possess, Brendan. But like my first opponent's myself.
Yeah, mine comes from a weird place.
Yours is just like the need to destroy, right? Like, no, but my first opponent is myself, and then like from there it kind of changes, and then like to just play without fear, um, like I'm not afraid of losing a game. That's not the worst thing that can happen in Age of Sigmar. The worst thing for me is like being a bad game for somebody, or like coming off as an idiot. That's the stuff I fear. I don't like if I lose a game and it's a close game and you outplayed me, but like you can look back and be like, oh yeah, that guy played a good game. Like, I feel good. Hardware will take care of itself if I play without fear. If I know my list, I play without fear.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on well, sort of expanded thoughts on that? Because you already talked.
I'm playing without fear. I mean, like literally, what's there to lose?
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the day, it's war dollies. Yeah. What is there to lose? And I think if you go in with the expectation of there's always something to gain from, you know, whatever the game is, win, lose, or indifferent, mm-hmm. then all right, man, like we're good. Isn't the whole goal to be better? Only one person can win the tournament.
Right. Right.
This is my gripe with Wisconsin football fans. only one team can win the national championship.
Yeah.
Be happy with a decade of 10-win seasons. Like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's okay to be just renowned as like a best in faction player, to consistently be 4-1, to always know.
Oh, go on. Finish your point.
Yeah, for your opponent to whenever they see your name on the pick list, that you are always going to be a tough out. Mm-hmm. Like that's really all you can ask for. You know, to be on the list of people that are potentially picked to take the tournament out. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else you can do. And the only way you get there is by playing the game and playing it in its entirety. And there's really no point in giving up in battle round 3.
Right.
There's none, unless you really want to get away from the table.
I've had that experience where like I just don't want to play with the guy anymore. You know, I've had that. Mm-hmm. It's happened exactly one time, and never 5 yet, right? Like, but but like, did he beat me or did I beat myself? Right? Like, I'd posit I beat myself a little bit more in that situation, and that's the thing is like, if you play Spawn here, find the victory in the lesson, not the W, and that's very important too. You know, trying to find something to learn. If you say I lose to Petrifex because it's the best army in the game right now, what have you learned? Like as an Age of Sigmar player to get better. What have you?
Yeah,
learned?
Is it your list? Yeah. Was it your matchup choices? Was it the mission? What if you get to go back a second time and play that game? What do you do differently?
Exactly.
And if you don't have an answer for it, the game was a waste of your time, no matter what. You lost and you didn't learn. Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, and this is the thing is like we see this in hobby too. Like, you know, if you want to get better at hobby, I mean, some people are happy with their 3-color standard. Go play. I'm fine. You know, I'm not going to harsh on anybody's hobby. I'm not here to hobby shame. But like, I
will.
But if you want to learn non-metallic metals, or Frank, you're in chat. What's a technique that people like and don't actually think is more of a hipster technique than a good technique? I don't know, something wet blending. You want to pick up wet blending, but you're not even willing to attempt to begin wet blending. You're like, oh, wet blending is just for people who are like really good at painting. I'm not good at painting. How are you ever gonna get to be able to do it?
Yeah, you won't. You can't, because you've already defeated yourself in that process.
Right. And the same thing happens in playing the game of Age of Sigmar. I mean, I have won games I have no business winning because I wasn't worried about losing, and I just played to my outs. You know, like lists that are better than I'm like, that list is objectively better than mine if we just like do the math. And I'm like, oh no, I just I just played hard. I just I went for these moves here and in the right situation. Hand of Dust is a great out, by the way, and leaves us in a gosh. It's like,
It's the great equalizer.
It's the great equalizer. You go into the situation, you're like, the only way I win is if I Hand of Dust that Maw Crusher. Got him. But now
Coin flip, nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. This 40% shot. Nailed it. But I had to lure the Maw Crusher into range for it because he wasn't going to. So, and I'm like, the only way I win is if I lure this Maw Crusher into this combat. Hope he doesn't realize I'm trying to get him into range for Hand of Dust, because once that happens, I can push diagonal and I can score the win. And
there you go.
Things like that where you're just playing to your outs. And here's the thing: is playing Age of Sigmar is a lot of fun when you play that way. It's crazy, right? When you get to be 300. You get to I know everyone dies at the end of the Battle of Thermopylae, but they had a fucking blast.
Spoiler alert.
But they had a blast doing it. So you're gonna have a little bit more fun with a slight change in mentality, and then from there it's about equipping yourself with the tools to go as far as you can push yourself. And I'm not even necessarily talking about wins when I say it that way. As far as you can push yourself in your enjoyment of Age of Sigmar. For some people, wins is enjoyable. For some people, they just want to have a winning weekend. I know that's a threshold I see. This is actually new to me. I discovered. A lot of people I talk to, what they want, what they desire is just a winning weekend when they go away to a tournament. They don't want hardware necessarily. They just want a winning weekend. And then if you're already on the winning weekend, maybe the next step is coming away with hardware or whatever. But we'll talk about that. If you want a winning weekend, then you gotta equip yourself with the right tools. Play without fear and learn your army. So one of the tools you're gonna equip yourself with is your list, right? We already talked about
know the rules.
Yep. Being knowing your rules, knowing your army. These are prerequisites. But now you gotta you've played Age of Sigmar for a while. You're on Stormcast Eternals or Iron Jaws and stuff like that. You've decided that you want to kick it up a notch. So you're going to take your list back. You're like, oh man, I'm having a hard time fighting this. I guess we could be literal here. You personally were grinding a lot of games with Bone Reapers. And you were finding you were finding these little weaknesses in your army. And we joked about it when you kind of shared the list that you kind of landed on but it was probably 2 months, month and a half. It was a little bit.
It took a while, and the revolution came to me while I was sitting at work, and I went, my God, I think the points work for this. And they did.
Yeah. Well, hang on, before we move on to that, Zerg, man, yeah, see, that's the problem with IJ players. They so often just fight when they don't have to. And they win even harder if they just hold back like a turd or don't always fight. But there's just something with the IJ mentality where they're I have to always be smashing and or bashing. It says right here in the rules. All right, smash and bash your way right off that objective, buddy. No, anyway, what? Yeah, so you had this eureka moment at work. I had to address chat gang there for a minute.
No, that's good.
So you had this breakthrough at work. I guess, so how did you go about building? We'll talk about Bone Reapers, and maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll let chat pick an army, and then you and I can build a list with that army.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, so we'll talk about
So everybody start thinking about armies you want to see.
Yeah, so start thinking about an army you'd like for us to make. We'll go an army. We'll keep it army specific, right? And the tools we're going to use are basically just going to be War Scroll Builder, and then our sort of proximate and or direct knowledge of the army you land on. So take me through your OBR process to kind of end up on what we now have titled the Breakthrough List. I think this is the capital T, capital L, the list.
Yeah, okay. So what I ended up doing, the process started with before the book came out. I reached out to people uh, in the know, and I said, where are you at with this? Like we'd seen the rules previews for a lot of this stuff, see a lot of the points, and man read books had come out, and I'm talking to people, just getting the ideas going. Like, when you see this book, what are you seeing? Here's what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. This is where I'm starting. Why are you starting with that? What mechanic do you think I'm missing out on this? And we just wrote a list based on all of those conversations, and the and then you just play a game against somebody that you trust, that is going to understand that that game is going to be slow, that there's some value of like take backsies, or that's a pretty outlandish thing that happened. Like, let's play it as an average. The game is lost here if the double turn occurs. Let's play it as if it doesn't. I needed that opponent, and that opponent for me is Dave Nordstrom. Him and I play what I call slow games. And so we played like 3 or 4 of them in the same day in my basement, and it did, like, none of it worked the way that I thought it was going to. Mm-hmm. I had a couple of lists in my pocket, and I was like, oh, well, all right. There's a couple of things that I really liked. They revolved around Arcan, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna build some lists around Arcan, see how this goes. And I played some more regular speed games with Dave, and I was like, okay, I see what works in this army. And I was like, who's better than Arcan at this job is Catacross. And my first game was with Catacross, and I was just so impossibly underwhelmed. Mm-hmm. But I realized over the course of my other games that I wasn't using Catacross right, like at all.
How were you using him first, and how did you use him second? I think this could be a good teaching moment for.
So I had treated him in the same way that I treat really kind of all the Mortarks: Arcan, Neff, Manfred, and to a slightly different step, Nagash, which is keep him back but keep him close. And then somewhere in turn 3 or turn 4, put them into the right spots to tip something over and break it open. You don't commit them early. You don't make them the center play. You use them as the tipping point. And what I found as I was playing all these other games is that Catacross has no business fighting. That's not what he's there for. Mm-hmm. The being able to hand out the -1 to hit, having 5 relentless discipline points, having a 36-inch bubble for +1 to hit for your whole army, stealing your opponent's command points. I was like, oh my god, that's what I need. Him being wounded is the problem. So I need to keep him in a non-wounded condition. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'll let you continue here in a moment. One of the things, I sort of realized about Bone Reaper's list is RDP. It's mm-hmm. really easy to just open up Azir or War Scroll Builder or whatever and just start throwing together units and looking at points. And you do that real quickly. And if you don't pay attention to your RDP, all your force multipliers just dissipate. So a Mortek Guard, just a single unit of Mortek Guard is pretty great. But a unit of Mortek Guard who can't get a +1 to hit, who can't, shield tilt, who can't get their rend because you're probably Petrifex Elite, they look a lot less awesome suddenly.
Yeah.
And if you want to do all 3 of those things in one turn of combat, or one turn, that's 3 RDP. And so, if you grab, Arcan, but you don't take the command ability spell, and then, you maybe have, a Mason, and now you're just, gambling to get your RDP, oof, you're going to have a bad time. It took me one sort of, secondary thought to realize that and go, oh shit, I need to rethink how I build lists. Which is where my first Petrogash draft was Nagash plus Elige Kavalos. Because Elige Kavalos is then giving me like the 2 RDP. And you just assume Nagash is going to give you that. He gives you 1 plus a D3 essentially. But you're like pretty low on gas.
Yeah.
Like I think that's ultimately why I'm not going to go full hot take. I don't think Petrogash is better than Catacross. I simply don't believe it. But I've seen some people beginning to say that, and I'm just like kind of like laughing and snickering quietly because I don't think they've considered how important RDP is to that army to make it work. But.
Yeah, I mean, you get away with some of it by having basically an auto cast on plus D3, but you could still roll a 1. Like, that's...
The other thing is you're generating the +1 to hit and rerolling 1s to hit and rerolling 1s to save off of, like, 3 of those things are happening off of a single command, RDP, and then you're on spells for the +1 to hit. So, like, you've shifted one resource to another. One's interactive, one's not.
Right.
So it's strictly worse, but like in an army that's kind of starved itself for RDP. And this is the kind of shit my brain thinks about every time I build a list. I don't know if there's any way I can teach you to think about stuff like that, but like the only way I've ever really like tried to help people be cognizant of it is like look for the force multipliers, and I would extend that to look for the resource. Like, because it's becoming pretty ubiquitous now since the command point era began that armies require a resource often two. So like whether it's blood tithe, depravity, that's a resource. Command points are obvious a resource. You've got Urgold now with KO. Like it's just something like you need to start just teaching yourself to look for. Look for the force multipliers. Look for the resource. Because an army built pretty straightforward like yours that has better resource management than you is going to beat you. I mean, this is just fucking RTS 101 here. If you've played RTSs, you're aware. Like, if you played some Warcraft in your day, you know about this. Anyway, like, so continue. You, like, Catacross, you kind of had this, like, eureka moment with him. You've been playing games with Dave.
Yeah. So then I finally play a game with Catacross, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is right. And the other thing that I was having problems with was the Kavalos Death Riders, because I was playing this army like I have every other army. I felt that my infantry stuff needed screens. I felt that, the Death Riders would serve as speed bumps, blah, 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 this, that, the other. I wasn't playing the units right.
So may I jump in here with what I think you found out, because I just realized it now doing mental reps this like a week ago or two. So the conclusion I came to with Petrogash is that my Kavalos Death Riders do not in fact play like my Black Knights.
They do not.
They play like my Dire Wolves.
In what sense?
In the sense that they're a holdback unit. You said that the army doesn't have holdback units. I think that they're the unit that you actually deploy back, and you advance the Mortec, and then you send them out to, like, yeah, okay, there are battle plans where you're going to scoop a battle plan early, but you're actually going to, like, hold them back because later game they can get to where you need them.
Oh, I use them as nuclear missiles.
So you use them like my Black Knights.
Yeah, I play them precisely like your Black Knights.
That's awesome. Like, we came to two different conclusions. Okay.
They're a very flexible unit. So one of the things that I really felt was the strength of the Kavalos Death Riders was the battalion, the Kavalos Lance.
Real quick before you continue, I mean, 100% agreed, but like before you continue, how are you playing them wrong then? Like, because there were some of our early chats. Like, I'm just like hoping Kavalos Death Riders are the shit. Like I'm just like I want these things to be great because I didn't see a rule printed, and I'm already having dreams of my all-cavalry army, Like, I'm already dreaming about these guys. Like, I love my Black Knights. This we can actually trace my love of Black Knights all the way back to Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Like, I'm just all about Bone Daddies riding fucking Skella Rhinoxus into combat. and some of your preliminary testing, you were not high on them. What was it you weren't high on them, and then catch back up to the land.
Yeah, so I was using them in the way that I would use dire wolves, which is they sat in front of my infantry, and they were the first thing you hit, and then just yoinked around, and then the infantry hit them, they'd heal up, and then they'd come back later in the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that they're not good at that. That's not that's not what they do. Okay. That's not what the unit does.
Okay.
Like on paper, you think a 3-up save, you're like, all right, that's a solid speed bump at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. No. Incorrect.
So you
not
want
what they're for.
You want them to, yeah. So like, I mean, my Black Knights were a threat-seeking missile. That's what they did. They just, and threat can mean table objective threat. Like it can mean a unit. It can mean, rethinking what we think of as a threat in the game. Catacross being like a great example of it. He's a threat, and it's not because he's a combat threat. He's a threat because of the force multiplication of what he does. I use Black Knights as a threat-seeking missile. The first thing I thought, I'm like, these guys, I just want to be in Kavalos Deathlands. I want to be fucking retreating and impact wounding the shit out of people. Like, I just got Super Black Knights, so I'm gonna play them like Super Black Knights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using them as the point of first contact.
Yeah, I think that's real quick, Zerg, I gotta clarify. Holdback units is something Brendan and I talked about, and I'm sure a lot of people have talked about. The army doesn't really do that. Fundamentally, and when I say holdback, I don't mean like you're gonna like try to have an anchor on a point. I mean, I thought about it, and I'm like, you're gonna march up with the Mortek Guard. They are their own screen, and they're just gonna scrap with whatever. You're gonna close the trap around people. The thing I found with Death Rattle, because I play a shit ton of Death Rattle, is like you're slow, and so it's really, really handy to have something like Black Knights that won't die immediately, can go and set the point of attack, and then let your slow shit catch back up. Which is how I had envisioned myself playing with my Kavalos Death Knights. I'm like, I'm just gonna play my Legions of Nagash Death Rattle list. My Nagash plus 100 skeletons 2.0. That's all I'm doing. Is like, that book was a 1.0 book. I just got the 2.0 book of that. It was just in my head. I'm like, this is how I'm going to play this army. I already knew. And then I heard some like early returns on like Black Knights, and I got like a little scared. But I've got my confidence back with them. So by holdback unit, I don't mean objective campers per se. But I don't mean like send them on a suicide mission anymore either, which was what I used to do with Black Knights. It's just like, this is a threat-seeking missile. I don't care if this dies. One command point, they're coming back. Let's go. So, anyway, so continue. Chad had to address them.
Yeah, so I've finally figured out the way that Catacross is supposed to play, and the way that Kavalos Death Riders at least don't not unfunction. Mm-hmm. And the more time I spent with it, the more sold I was on the value of the Kavalos Lance Battalion.
Well, Retreat and Charge is so powerful. I mean, even when Grimghast Reapers were the business, right? I remember being very irate that people were going to nerf them. With points. Specifically with points. I was on Haywo's show, just irate. Like, he'd bring me on when he just needed someone angry at people angry on the internet. And now I have my own show. No, I remember like people wanted to change. I had conversations with you too, kind of early on in our friendship, where I'm like changing them with points is a mistake, because like literally Bladegeist are sitting right in that army, and they like already look more enticing. And like what you do when you nerf the Grimghast Reapers, is like you just only hurt Nighthaunt. You only like, and so like Nighthaunt like you hurt them because of the battle line requirements and all that shit. But like bodies and the way they want to play. But like Bladegeist, like as far as like the blunder unit, the all-purpose hammer that goes out, it'll fight your battle line, it'll fight your heroes, it'll just like chop them up. Like that Retreat and Charge. I think that was the first time I got like truly enamored with Retreat and Charge. especially
So good.
like because they fly over you on that retreat, and like that's something Cavalos can't do, but they get impact wounds. So I feel like it's a little like sort of like minus from like one column plus to a different column because impact wounds are they're like themselves something you can really take advantage of because you can with like Cavalos Lance for instance, say you have a couple units that can retreat and charge. You know, now you have a couple units that can kind of like do little like spin cycles. They're the washing machine of like retreat and charge, impact wounds, and then getting those charges off again. I think one of the early
Yeah, you nailed it.
yeah yeah, and so like Cavalos Lance, you're giving yourself the absolute like the real mobility the army needs. I'm sorry, 7-inch move. It's good. It's good for a game that has 5, 6, 8 objectives in it. But it is not fast. And everyone who says you're fast because you can spend one of your precious resources to like move, but you can't guarantee a 6-inch run and you don't have run and charge, like that's not fast. Or teleporting. Like that's not fast. Half the armies in the game fucking teleport now.
Yeah.
Or have summoning that is essentially like teleporting. Yeah, laughs at Morsar card. Yeah, so like I mean, and that's where like you, like would you plant your flag in this using your own terminology against you here, buddy? Would you say that every good every good Ossiarch Bone Reapers list should be running Death Riders? Because I see some lists leaving them off for more Mortek. Okay.
Yeah, or if you don't have them, I think you should have one of the other quintessential fast units in Stalkers or Morghast.
Okay. So you've got a need for speed in that army.
You need a speed unit, and Cavalos Death Riders fill a battle line spot, so it's kind of two birds, one stone.
It forces their hand. Yeah, I mean that's the one thing if I were king of Games Workshop for a day, one of the things I would have done with this book is actually have some battle line if options. And here's a like bizarro world take. Actually turn off like Mortek Guard in like certain factions or in certain sub factions.
Whoa.
I know. Because like one thing that always ends up happening is I go to try to make a list and I'm like I really want to run Stalkers. Like, I want to run them. But, like, I gotta make my 3 battle line options, my 3 battle line first. And so what ends up happening...
Yeah, and
yeah, go ahead.
There's 400 points gone.
Yep. And so what ends up happening is, like, you probably don't take just 10 Mortek Guard. So you're... 10 are... They're still in that... They're kind of in that category of they're just bodies. They're really efficient 10... Like, as a unit of 10. They're really efficient for their point. 130 points. They do about as much as you possibly can with 10 bodies for 130 points. But, like...
Yeah.
They just don't wear the buffs. They can still get wiped out. They don't, like, do... It's, like, I would rather have a 60-point unit that does nothing than 10 bodies that are that efficient.
Yeah, like the good old zombie days.
Yeah, well, because anything worth its metal is going to blow up 10 Mortek Guard no matter what. 20 is where they start to live and regen and yada, 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 and swing back. At 10, anything important will kill them. And now you're just, like, minus 130 points from your list. It's like, I can't just have 10 of these guys sitting around. I need at least 20. And so, like, what ends up happening is, like, if I'm about to buy just 10 Mortek Guard, I buy Death Riders instead. And I go, well, now so it's like usually it's like almost all of my lists are starting at like 2 of 20 Mortek Guard and a unit of 5 Death Riders, and like now I have to try to fit Stalkers in because I want to play with them. I think they're great. Great is I hesitate to say great if you're talking to pure competitive stance, but I will say great firmly from just like an excitement for the army. Like they're awesome.
I think they've got value.
Their damage is legit, and their mobility is noted. Especially if you do some of the other stuff to buffer it, like pick up a battalion. Scout moves are invaluable, and they benefit from the move in charge the retreat in charge in Staliarch Lords, do they not? Or no, that's one of them is mount only, and one of them is everybody gets. I can't remember if it's run in charge. Is the mount only?
Everybody gets run in charge.
Everybody gets run in charge. So now you're teetering on being for really real a fast army.
Yeah.
Is Staliarch Lords the way to run Stalkers, do you think?
Yes, I think I said that on Doom Show.
Okay.
I think the place for stalkers is in Staliarch Lords. If your list is going to focus on them, if they're like a piece in your army, then you can play them in Mortis Praetorians. You can play them in Petrifex, and you're not gonna really feel the burn. But if you want to make stalkers a centerpiece to what it is that you're doing, Staliarch Lords.
Yeah.
That's where you got to go, in my opinion.
And low-key interaction heat, if you haven't spotted it yet. Catacross and Nagash are both technically mounted for the Staliarch Lord abilities. So they do get retreat and charge.
Nice.
It says it right in the rules. This is a strictly as written thing, and they haven't FAQ'd it to tell me it doesn't work that way yet. Although they did take away fucking Sword of Judgment from Catacross.
From the fish?
Yeah, from the fish. They did take away that. Oh, right, he is Mortis Praetorian, so he cannot benefit from, so yeah. No, you're right, Frank. Catacross is Mortis Praetorian, so he cannot enjoy being a Staliarch Lord. But, Nagash has all the honey he wants. He gets to...
Which is so strange.
I know. I'd rather be YOLO solo Nagash than run and charge Nagash, though. So, like, it just sits as a cute interaction and not a good interaction.
That's fair.
But cute interactions are fun. So like so like your new list, you run Cavalos Lance, kind of getting us back on topic here. You run the Lance. This is what's giving them run and charge, and then they get to use their Death Rider's Wedge once per turn, which is like having one extra RDP a turn.
Yeah, it's the retreat and charge. Yes, you get to use the Death Rider Wedge for free, and then also the battalion physically gives you an extra Relentless Discipline point. So it's like you're getting 2 free points.
And you're lowering your drops, which, as I've heard, it's good in Age of Sigmar to do that.
Yeah, but I'm only a 5-drop, so what's the point in a land of 1-drop, Tzeentch change host nonsense?
If I can do
might as well just be 100. Might as well just give up.
Okay, right. If I can be a light medium spice on this one, I find it curious that 1-drop battalions were just kind of stripped from the game across a plethora of armies for like 12 books straight. IJ lost theirs, Sylvaneth lost theirs. Like a lot of these armies went through and they kind of like lost mega battalions and 1-drops. And
now they're back.
And now they're just suddenly back. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I was to understand you didn't want 1-drop anymore as like a game, and I was on board when you said that. And now it's coming back, and I'm just like, so I'm not like gonna go cry about it. I don't think all games are lost because I'm playing against a 1-drop. I just find it curious that they're back. It's weird to me. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, 5 drops is as good as 1,000 drops, so whatever. That being said, I think against the average other armies, you're still 4-drop, 5-drop is fine. Like that's just fine. Provided you're not on 1-drop, and it's the same dynamic back again. Just from we've rewound the clock 2 years. It was like for a little, we had this little period of time where being 4-drop or being 3-drop was actually insanely good because you just outdrop everybody. No one was 1-drop anymore. Except for exactly IJ. There's this 6-month window where only Iron Jaws were 1-drop, and then they were probably 2-drop because they took the fucking Fungoid Cave Shaman because they wanted to casino wall as hard as possible, right?
Good times.
And then you were 3-drop and you outdropped fucking everybody. All the drops were drifting up, and then now we just reset the clock. We're back to exactly where we were, essentially before the 12 books came out. To what drops look like now, which is if you're 4 or 5, you're fine, unless you can be 1. And then if you're not 4 or 5, then who gives a shit? So I find that weird that we just kind of what that wheel, the meta wheel, it just keeps turning, and I feel like it's weird. I grumble about the fact that we turned back to the 1-drop, 5-drop, who cares, method. But, like, I'm not surprised that we did, because I guess I finally played Age of Sigmar long enough to not be surprised when the wheel just comes all the way full circle. I should, like, man, I don't know, man. What are your thoughts? I mean, this is a bit of a tangent on, like, the meta cycling, but
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with the 4 or 5 space.
Yeah.
Because it meant that you had to actively make the decision around like army construction, a specific battalion, this, that, the other.
Yeah.
And when it's a 1-drop, and the 1-drop includes all the stuff that you wanted anyways, well, I think that's the thing that pisses me off. Like if it was 1-drops where you had to make sacrifices to be that 1-drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm good with that. But like when it's objectively one of the best ways to play, and your sacrifice is like, oh, this hero that I kind of maybe want, I can't take it. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, like the tax, when there isn't any like, it would be fine like if the punishment for being 1-drop is you have to like take a couple units that you actively don't want, right? Like that would be a fine like from a I think a balance standpoint, but that's not what we've ended up with Tzeentch, and even the 1-drop KO is like. I mean, the difference is like Tzeentch is like, excellent, this is what we wanted, and KR like, god damn it, we don't want to do this again. Like the difference is just like one player group is filled with bastards, and the other one is filled with like great people. I'm kidding, dwarves suck.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Kharadron overlords are the worst.
I'm kidding. Dwarf players are the worst. No, I'm throwing shade at both people here. I'm just fucking around. Look, some of my
both
best
players
friends
are terrible.
Some of my best friends are Tzeentch players. Okay. Like Andrew Yells was like modeling here all night. He's been on RantCast like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I don't know. Like the drops is weird. So like drops, I guess. How do you rate drops in your list building? Like,
I mean, I think they're important.
Do you always try to be as few as possible? Like, is that something you actively pursue, or is it something when you look at the army you go, okay, yeah, all right, answer.
Yeah. So the number of drops is important once you get the distilled answer of like what the list is gonna do. Mm-hmm. If you like put the structure of the army together and you get to like 1,800 points. Then you start looking around like, okay, well, how do I cut this down to down drops, or are those last 200 points going to be best spent on another unit, another hero, some endless spells, the extra command point? You know, what does this look like? What does this last bit of my list look like? Now, the other side of it is there a battalion that you see and you go, I'm going to build my army around this battalion?
Okay.
The thing to understand, though, when you're not building around drops is understanding the concept of forfeit of choice, right? Which, on the surface, you're like, well, Brendan, duh, that's really obvious. But it dictates your playstyle, it dictates your deployment, where you got to get really good at understanding to play top of turn, bottom of turn, both potentially giving your opponent the illusion of your deployment doesn't benefit you if you go first or second or whichever one it is. But in reality, that's exactly what you wanted off of them.
Well, and these are things you can practice to understand. Playing with a purpose, right? Like playing to learn this when you're becoming aware of your army. For instance, I feel that Bone Reapers kind of don't care if they go first or second. I mean, it would be nice on certain battle plans to always dictate the pace, right? To always have that choice. But, like, when you go into Bone Reapers going, okay, I don't think I care about the choice too much, and then you start building accordingly and thinking about games accordingly, you're going to benefit yourself.
Yeah, I actually love going second with Bone Reapers. It's because you get your command point versions at the top of the turn. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool, you alpha charged me. Neato, I'm just as effective now as I would be next turn. Except for, I don't have the Catacross +1 to hit. Fine, I still have Shield Wall. Fine, I still have +1 attack. Fine, I still have extra rend. If I'm going second, then I get to, turbo burn all of it and be in good position.
Right. I like Zerg real quick. I have to address this. This is precisely why I love Beasts of Chaos. My Beasts of Chaos lists are all like 1 drop or 15, and I choose whichever one is more beneficial to me. Going second also works because you get to heal at the top of your hero phase. Yeah, top of phase hero phase or top of hero phase healing is kind of sweet.
It is useful.
So you want to finish off talking about the breakthrough list while I run and see what Colin needed me for, and then we'll come back and we'll try to get people to coax us into building a specific list. So you
I thought
Lance.
I definitely think I'm at the end of it.
Oh,
like,
you're at the end of it. Well, then find a soapbox.
Find a soapbox.
Stand up.
Here, people, ask me questions.
Yeah, ask him questions. So yeah, I mean, I guess then we'll round off the discussion about like sort of like the breakthrough list and how you came through it. So like kind of recap us the condensed version. You started with I'm gonna play. You knew you were gonna play Bone Reapers. You're like I'm gonna play.
Yes. You and I had a very special moment in a hotel in Indiana.
We did.
Where we just collectively decided that the Bone Zone is real.
Yeah. The Bone Zone is real. It's a thing. I loved how you phrased that, by the way, from beginning, middle to end.
Super intentional.
Hotel.
Yeah.
So like we both committed to Bone Reapers. We knew we were on this. We're like, we are doing this. And then from there, now you have a problem to solve. Because you don't quite know. And I remember you and I, like, every time they, like, tease a little something, we'd be like, okay, are they going to be good? They're going to be bad. Like, they're not, and we're like, okay, they're not going to be bad. They wouldn't make a brand new army bad. We're just, like, sitting there, like trying to figure it out, right? We're working the problem before we have any points.
Screams into Marty. Yeah, they certainly wouldn't make the army bad.
Yeah, and then you have, like, flashbacks. Well, I mean, eel spam was great, though. I mean, eel spam was another one of those meta-shifting things. It's just a litmus test. Can your army deal with eel spam or not? It's just something you have to go through in list building. And as you know, quote unquote, the list or the top 5 armies, part of list building, you have to ask that. Can my army deal with this stuff? That's one of the first questions. If you care about winning at all, if you care about that, one of the first questions you got to ask is, can I beat these lists? And you haven't had to ask before, can I beat 3-up rerolling armor saves? You didn't have to ask that question before, per se. I mean, a lot of the high resilient armies were resilient because of minuses to hit you, like a la Gitz, or Horde, because redundancy is actually really good, or redundant after saves. Like, that was how they were, and so when you were asking your questions, how do I beat daughters, you were asking a little bit of it, the puzzle piece looked a little bit different for that solution. Now you have yet another consideration with these 3-up guys just rolling around that can rend you down. Maybe your book doesn't have answers. I don't think there's a book that doesn't have answers, by the way. But like your list that you're on might not have had answers in it, and you had to take it back to the drawing board a little bit if you have these new problems. Like, the other thing to consider, this is something we touched on earlier, it's okay to punt a matchup. It's okay to be like, I can't beat this, or the list I have to build to beat this compromises my position against all these other lists so much it's not worth it. I just hope I dodge. Or get better at the battle plan.
Yeah, that was my Nagash Caradron Overlords Clown Car matchup. I go, that I feel good about literally every other matchup. I just hope that I don't play boats.
Yeah, and I had a similar mentality with my Nagash experience. I'm like, I brought Black Knights in too, to like initially to solve the problem of Clown Car, but like then it was like, no, I found the job, because I played it for so long against so many things. I'm like, oh no, I know what these fucking do in every situation now. Oh, this is great. They're awesome. Like, and then I got made fun of for a little bit, and then I made people believers. Like, you got to give yourself that opportunity. If I made the army that was 30 Black Knights, then I'm punting a bunch of matchups to everybody else now. Like, if I overcompensated to play against KO, right? And that's something you have to realize, the threshold of what your list is capable of, and either commit to it or not. And I think it's often preferential. And I'm not saying like punt to Petrifex, although please punt to Petrifex. I'm ready to kick your ass. But like it's something you gotta realize when you gotta take that sort of like step back and like look at the sort of meta, look at your list, and look at what you want to do. And part of it is playing without fear, not being afraid of losing, and just kind of like getting a good gauge on what matchups you're willing to lose or not. If you happen to be in one of those like Golden Boy armies that can shore up your wins against a weakness without giving up anything, hell yeah, do it. You know, Iron Jaws could do that.
Yeah.
Iron Jaws just did that for the most part when the problem Petrifex came up. I listened to every Iron Jaws player go like, "Oh, yep, I'm switching out the claw now, or switching to the claw now." Just like every last one of them, just like switched the weapons on their war boss and maw crushes. Problem solved. Dusted their hands. Let's go. Like every one of them, and they're just like, "Yeah, okay, I don't worry about this anymore. We're gonna go fight now." And you know, some armies aren't that fortunate. Like if you're Stormcast, you probably feel really really bad. If you're Skaven, you feel great. You go, okay, now I grab Gisele's. Or actually, Warp Lightning Cannons already do the job. Or I grab Thanquil. Like, I already wanted to play with Thanquil anyway. He's awesome. Like, some armies get to do that. Not everyone can. And so, if you happen to be one of the armies that maybe can't switch with a new problem, you need to look at the other problems you do solve. And I say commit to solving them harder and be okay with a loss. Or be okay with playing to your outs. Like, figure it out. Don't punt it at the matchup, or just because people tell you that thing's overpowered online. It is indeed overpowered online, but you don't learn a lesson from it being overpowered on the internet. Like, there's my soapbox real quick. It looks like Ty's got a question for you here in chat.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. So people, ask me questions. Ask me questions, and I will answer them. So, off the top, Frank, talk about the bad OBR units and make them work. I'm sorry, I can't make Bachmortian and the Mortisian Soul Reaper work. Those are impossible to fix without points. They are garbage and are unsalvageable. Lotanian. Ty, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Which host of Rage War Sigmar is better and why? It's Jacob Berry, and it's because he's invited me into his house twice without me asking him to. Fat Kid Sports, I'd like to hear your opinion if a Frostlord or Mega Blast could drink more beer, and why is it the Auric? It is the Auric because I've got the two models in front of me, and the Mega Boss is physically larger. And if I've learned anything about living in Wisconsin and the consumption of alcohol, size helps significantly. That is a big man's game. And that is it for the questions that are presently out there. There's 14 of you, and only Ty and Frank had questions for me. I'm a little disappointed. As Seraphon, how much do you value Mortals on the Charge? With the Cavalos Death Riders, nah, I don't. It's super minimal damage. With 12-man units and monsters in Maw Tribes, it's a big deal. With the Brass Stampede, it's a big deal. It all depends on, one, the reliability of it, and two, the volume. Right? What's that number look like? If that number can pull off a screen reliably, even if the screen is weakened a little bit, or it can significantly weaken or pull off like a 6-wound hero, then yeah, it's worth it. That's just one less thing that you have to deal with. But the Cavalos Death Riders or other kind of minor shipping mortal wounds on the charge, nah. Unless like you're gonna hit everything within like 3 inches of your base, and you're Frank, as you like to call it, the Chungus model, then that's a that's a pretty good value because you're hitting a lot of stuff. So yeah, the 5 to 6 wound threshold is really kind of where it tips over for me, is when you can start removing pieces in a meaningful way. What else? What else do you want to hear? All of you. Say absolutely. How is your fourth fella from the ATC squad doing, the guy who went to basic training? He's doing good. He got through basic. He's in officer school right now. And he should be back out and running around for ATC 2020 somewhere after Adepticon, I think. He's doing I think he's doing like communication school specifically for it. So we haven't heard from him too much recently, but that just means he's busy. So happy for him. What else? What do we got here, Frank?
Man, that's really cool. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to my own rantcast now because I'm really curious to hear. Don't spoil it for me. I want to hear who Javier's favorite host of Rage of Sigmar is.
It's not Seth.
It's not Seth.
No.
Oh man, that's cool. All right, guys. All right, chat gang. Now is your time to shine. What army are we building a list for? I heard Sylvaneth in there. I heard KO. I think I saw Khorne. If you want us,
just tell me what we're doing. I'm gonna head upstairs to look for my books.
He's gonna go grab all of them because he committed to buying every single book.
It was really sad.
Yeah, Sylvaneth was the highest rated. Sylvaneth was the winner? So he's gonna go grab all of his books. Oh, I know. This is hard mode. This is hard mode.
All
right. Money where our mouth is. Let's apply. This is some applied science. Applied list science. I'm going to go ahead and open up rid of that. So we are order. KO in cities. See, I'm not interested by KO in cities. I feel like cities. Okay, yeah, it's going to be done. Like everyone's happy with their Tempest Eye and or with their Tempest Eye and or whatever. I don't care. Cool. You're gonna bring a boat in now. I don't care. Woo. Good for you. KO in KO is a little interesting to me. I think they've got a couple like really cool interactions that I would be all about personally, but I understand that you're like really pigeonholed into those specific builds. I like some Living Cities builds with Sylvaneth. I do. Brendan, are you back yet? Or are you still gathering?
I'm back. I got everything. I'm sitting down, flipping through my paperwork.
As we're talking through this, or as we're going through here, I might bring up a couple of my favorite like combos in the game. I've mentioned the Umbral Spell Portal, Laoshin combo before. I think I could do a better job of explaining it to you why it works. The endless spell that Siege just got is perhaps one of my favorite things ever. It turns on a lot of bullshit. I love that I'm like, oh man, I love that this thing is busted and bullshit. And like other people be like, this thing is busted and bullshit and shouldn't be in the game. I'm like, there's a difference between like being great and interesting and being, overwhelming and a problem, right? Things teleport. We're used to teleports in the game of Age of Sigmar. Like, I don't think anyone should be surprised anymore that teleports happen, especially when they're ingenious ones. The thing that bothers me more than something being broken is something being bad. That's the ultimate offense to me, is when something is bad. My tolerance for bad things is lower than my tolerance for bullshit. or rather great stuff, because bullshit then would be like the next level beyond great. But bullshit is whether it beats me or not, right? All right, so I've got my War Scroll Builder up. I actually, if you want some like behind the curtain peeks, I tend to build in Azir personally. If you've sat in my hobby streams, usually I like grab my cell phone rather than pull up War Scroll Builder.
I build in War Scroll Builder almost exclusively.
Really? Why?
Yeah. I don't know. I like it better.
Okay.
There's just something about the application that I just really like.
I like that it shows you
solid.
Points, I guess would be like a point in its favor. Like it shows you points like directly at its interface, as opposed to like I gotta add it and then see it after. Or there was something like that bothered me with Azir. What was the one thing in Azir that I'm like, all right, like to look up points you have to go in and I can't just look at a unit and see its points. That's the one thing that bothers me about Azir. Whereas this, I'm like, I know I want like I know I want this guy's point. I like where the fuck is Sylvaneth? See, Sylvaneth is like pushed so far down the list even. I can do the drop down list for units and go, oh, Dryads cost this, 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 and this. Like I can look at that like in the immediate layer of interface. With Azir, like if I go to look up somebody's war scroll, like I don't see their points just next to it for some reason. It bothers me, but that's a gripe. I have to go through two different interfaces based on if I'm trying to look at war scrolls versus points. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and open up my book real quick.
Solid.
Desktop.
So I think the first question we have to answer here in Sylvaneth is, what are we going to build around? And in Sylvaneth, I feel that you've got 3 things to build around. You've got the big guys, you've got the Kurnoth Hunters, and you've got Dryads. So what do we want to build around?
So chat will let you, do we let chat do this, or do we answer what we want to build around? Because I know what I want to build around. I've been wanting to solve this puzzle for a little while.
Oh, I don't think we're going to figure it out here.
Okay. Someone's saying Drycha specifically. I mean, Drycha isn't something you build around.
Frank, no.
Drycha's not something you build around. Drycha is a pet the definition of a pet unit. Okay, Kurnoth. We're going Kurnoth. It looks like it's got
I want Brendan to build it.
I want Brendan to build it. All right.
I will be. That's what I'm working on.
All right. So it looks like looks like Chad has dictated we're going to build around Kurnoth.
Okay.
So now this is where my brain jumps to. What's the stuff that makes them go? What gives them the juice? What are my force multipliers? What makes them better than what they are on the War Scroll? So what do we have in Sylvaneth that does that?
So the thing that jumps out to me right away is the glades, right?
Yep.
So the first one is
Oakenbrow is the first, according to War Scroll Builder.
I wasn't talking numerically.
Oh.
It's the reroll hits artifact. Where is this one? Heartwood. So it's add 1 to bravery to Heartwood units wholly within 12. The command ability lets you reroll hit and wound rolls of 1. You trigger this at the start of the combat phase. The general has a command trait that you can immediately ignore, and then the artifact of powers reroll hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Heartwood Kurnoth units wholly within 12 inches of the bearer. Pretty good. Mm-hmm. Right? So we've got Heartwood, and if I remember correctly, there's one more that lets you turbocharge Kurnoth Hunters. Oh, I think it's Harvest Boon.
Harvest Boon was one of the ones I think I was playing around with for a little while there.
Yeah, I personally like Heartwood a little bit more.
Okay.
Because you can still get that +1 attack by using the good old what's its face.
The Archrev.
Yes.
Yeah.
Archrev.
Archrev,
so,
not Archregent.
Yeah. Archregent's the other one. The nice thing though with Harvest Boon is you can use the 2 command abilities to the Archrev command ability and the Harvest Boon one to go +2 attacks.
Right.
Or you're at least not stuck with having to rely on the Arch Revenant for that ability, which isn't so bad.
Well, and I liked the list. The reason I was on that early was like the flexibility. You know, I was building for the flexibility, but like you're the guest. We're gonna go with yours. So we're gonna go Heartwood.
All right, we're going Heartwood.
So we're Heartwood. I already got Heartwood selected.
Great. So the other force multiplier that we want to look at that's going to be immediate is battalions. Right. We just got to make sure that they're.
We got to see if there is a battalion worth considering. So we're kind of like, you notice there's a little bit of an order of operations going on here. Dear viewers or listeners, what are we building around? Let's look for the juice. And the first you check for your allegiance abilities, then you check for artifacts, and now we're onto battalions. So there's a little bit of a order of operations. It's the PEMDAS of list building, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're looking at the battalions. There's only one that includes anything with Kurnoth Hunters. It's the Free Spirits Battalion. It basically gives you an automatic 6, so it's saving you a command point if you want to run. It requires taking Durthu and 3 units of Kurnoth Hunters. I don't know how I feel about that right now.
We have to see the point. So, I mean, I guess, are you saying you want to build? See, this is where I would just do it to see what it looks like. In my process, I'd be like, well, what does this look like? Because I feel like I want 3 units of Kurnoth anyway, because in my mind, I've already thought like I think I want one unit of bow Kurnoth because I'm not convinced that the shooting meta is back, and my own trees step on my toes too much with my own shooting. And I want like 2 melee scrappers, and I want a unit of shooting because I feel like I can get
like
that.
a unit of 3 or a unit of 6.
Well, that's the question now. That's where I haven't solved. I haven't solved for 0 yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Yeah. So I don't think this battalion's very important.
Okay.
Just right off, right at face value. Maybe it will be, but just kind of immediately, I'm not feeling it.
See, melee Kurnoth are where I really think the juice is in this book. Not so much the bows are good, but like I'm just not convinced that they're so oppressive. And I feel like you've got some non-bows in your army with your own bows because of your.
Yeah, I think with the bows, you would do really well in a team list.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so
I don't want to.
So let's like actually get started with the list.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So we've got Heartwood, right?
Yep.
One of the things that we'll have to discern here is what we want for battle line. So I think I'm just gonna just start with 3 units of Min Tree Revenants. I rate them a little bit better than Spites because of the mobility portion.
So you rate? I was about to ask you why you rate them. So you rate them better specifically because mobility.
Yep.
Okay.
I think the 20 points is worth it.
Okay.
If we got to come back later and free up some points, that's an easy place to start. So
yes.
Those 3 in Arch Revenant, those are the first 4 units I'm taking.
So you've already built in sort of a point cushion right here because all right, I'm going to try to take the better for the reasons I want them, mobility. Because one might come at this and go, I'm just going to get my minimum point cost in battle line, right? That's one way to do it. You've made conscious effort to put in those extra 20 points because of mobility. And this goes into knowing why you're making your choices, right? Like, why are you choosing it? You might find out later on because you said, I took this for mobility, right?
Yep.
And if the mobility really doesn't pan out how you thought, you've already been conscious of why you were doing it, and then you go on later to the observation step with your list. Did that mobility matter? Okay, if it didn't matter in 9 out of 10 games in that controlled environment where I'm grinding my list to get better with it, I'm going to take the 60 points back. Anyway, continue. So we grab our Arch Revenant because it's pretty much an auto include.
Yep. Yeah, super important. The other thing that I think is important to kind of keep your eye on in this list is we're going to be pretty low model count for most of this game. So I think this is where you take a Branch Wraith, which is the one that summons Dryads. You're gonna fill a weakness that you're probably gonna end up in. And I say that this is probably where you start developing your threat pieces.
Okay. So real quick, since we went with the Branch Wraith because we know we're going to need to summon, this is where if I weren't familiar with the army, and I'm vaguely am because one of my friends plays it, I would look at the lore spells and go, do any of these build towards what I'm trying to do with the list? And I don't remember the spells off the top of my fucking head. So I am going to have to look them up in real time.
Yeah, so one of the lore spells that's going to probably help us out in terms of value, Virtuous Harmony, which is healing, or returning models, but mainly for healing. The Throne of Vines, which you might want to cast on the Branch Wraith. Yeah, very castable, and it makes casting the summon. your base spell a lot easier later in the game. You only need a 5.
Yeah.
So that's one of the options for it. Let's see.
So this is where the first thing again, okay, I know I need Branch Wraith because it's gonna do the trick I need, and then I'm gonna look at the lore spells, and the first thing I'm gonna do is go, do any of these build towards what I'm trying to do, which is I want to win with Kurnoth. I want to play with Kurnoth. So I'm gonna look at these. Throne of Vines is nice, but it's enabling something else that is sort of an enabler. I'm going to look for a direct enabler. I do this with Beasts of Chaos. Suddenly, Titanic Fury got a lot better in that list because I have something to put it on. Whereas before, I wouldn't even consider that spell because I had nothing to put it on. But Gorgons are approaching that like race to the bottom in points costs. Now I know, okay, this is a force multiplier if I want to play with Gorgons. It's just looking for the synergy actively, right? This is informed on like everybody, but to some people, I mean, setting up an order of operations of like when you're going through your lists, selecting certain units, and getting the gas. This is gas. So here, there's no like they don't have any direct gas spell, right?
Right, not yet.
So then, okay.
Not yet.
Right.
Yeah. So we've got Arch Revenant, Brand Wraith, and our 3 battle line units, which are Tree Revenants. So we've got the backbone of what we want to do here, and that has us at 420 points to start.
Smoking the
420 blazing.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think the next thing is we start developing our genuine threat pieces. And I think the place where we start is a unit of 6 Kurnoth Hunters with swords.
And this is another way you could term this is building your winning strokes. How are you going to win with your threat pieces, right? And we know that we prescribe to Brendan's 3 threats mentality. So he's building his first threat piece here: Kurnoth Hunters, swords, and you said a 6 block.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you go swords over scythes?
In the 6 blocks, I take swords.
Okay.
In the 9 blocks, I take scythes, and it has everything to do with range. Has everything to do with frontage. When you have more than 6 swords, you're wasting points, right? Because they're only range 1. Mm-hmm. You can pretty reliably get 4-ish Kurnoth Hunters in on a regular unit with swords, which means you're going to get about 8 in with scythes. And the swords, I think, play a very important role because of the opportunity to toss out that mortal wound, and that they have really reliable damage, on top of the fact that Kurnoth Hunters themselves are always in range of Sylvaneth heroes for the use of command abilities. So you can hide your Arch Revenant and make this 5 attacks a model, which overcomes some of that rend that the Kurnoth Hunters with scythes are kicking out.
Right. So,
but
okay, continue. No, continue.
But the next unit immediately, I think, is going to be a 6-man unit of scythes.
All right.
Or sorry, a 9-man unit of scythes.
All right. So real quick, well, I don't need to ask this question. Continue. So we get our 9 block of scythes.
Good luck killing that. So this piece to me creates something that poses 2 threats simultaneously to the opponent. One, this is actually a good number of models. 9 models is something that you probably have to deal with over the course of the game.
You're not going to steal the objective late game with your 10 idiots, whatever your 10 idiots are from 9 Kurnoth Hunters. You're not going to like send in. I mean, even a Stonehorn, if you've chaffed it with tree revs to like soften the blow and you can get the chart. If you've played the game of Age of Sigmar, 9 of these guys will pull down a murder horn.
Mm-hmm.
Provided he's not an ethereal amulet, right? But
murder horns.
Yeah. The way I'm finding it, by the way, go these days is murder horn. He takes the pelt or whatever it is, and then the clatterhorn. And Crunchhorn takes the ethereal amulet. And so I'm seeing it like actually like it's like there's becoming a common lexicon for like the murder horn and Crunchhorn, and I fucking love it. Like I love it. Or not the pelt, the I can't remember what it's called.
The brand?
Brand, yeah, Svard. Brand of Svard.
Brand of Sviard.
Sviard. I love it. I just love that, like, that as the game goes on, we have little, like, we have pet names for units. They become part of the, like, the mythos of Age of Sigmar. And Brendan, you with Murderhorn, and Haywo with Crunchhorn, just like like